Good morning. This is Shri here, along with Satish, to analyze and give our in depth analysis of the Super Bowl. So, good morning, Satish. Welcome on the podcast.
Good morning, Sridhar. Thank
I
you.
know we're in different time zones, but I think we want to just wrap up the NFL season with our in depth analysis and what our thoughts were after a remarkable game that it was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs go on to win the third Super Bowl for Mahomes, inching him closer to the greats. And San Francisco has to deal with another loss, the second loss in 5 years to the same team. So just wanted to get your um, thoughts and what you thought was the turning point of the game and where you thought that San Francisco could have done better. All credit to Kansas City and the Chiefs and Mahomes, but just wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so you're right. Credit to the Chiefs. Three to Mahomes, one Super Bowl they had from way back when. They've formally joined the club of elite football teams, no doubt. They proved why they belong there. Um, they basically came through, is the short of it. When I kind of look back at the game, wonderful game, by the way, for, just to have a game this competitively fought in a Super Bowl. They used to be like real sleepers, but this was exciting. But I look back at the game and I wonder, did Kyle really learn and prep anything from the Super Bowl 54 experience? 49ers led the Chiefs back then too, and let Patrick Mahomes back then rally Kansas City back and snatch a victory. So when I look at even our predictions that we shared the other day, my prediction was 2017 in favor of the 49ers. But I remember I said for that to happen, 49ers have to do two things. McCaffrey has to have a really solid game, and 49ers needed to get his running game going, firing on all cylinders. And the second
You're
was
right.
the defense has to show up and stay lit up for 60 minutes. And if I go to that and I like break it down, neither happened to the extent necessary. McCaffrey had a good game, right? 80, I think,
Mhm.
yards rushing, 80 yards in receiving. All in all, he looked like he was around all the time. The problem is 80 rushing yards. They should have been getting the ball to him and running the ball. The hot 49ers defense, which it was hot, they showed up. They pressured Mahomes. They stuffed Pacheco. The guy had like less than 60 yards of rushing. They even kept a lid on Kelsey for a while. But after all that, they gave up big plays. And most importantly, they didn't show up in force when it mattered the most, which was towards end of regulation and in overtime. So I kind of look back and go, I think they had a path. I still think they had a path. They just didn't execute the way I think they should have. Now, 49ers did slow down Mahomes, as a scrambler and improviser for most of the game. So I think those are all like good things to take away. And as a result, it turned out to be a low scoring game. Defense dominated. Um, I must admire Kansas City's defense. I mean, they showed up again in force, and for a while there, like I said, 49ers came prepared too, but it kind of just faded away. So some quick sort of thoughts, and what's your reaction to that? And you got anything else?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think everything that you said did not happen to the extent it was. And I think that was a good way of putting it. To me, I think the turning point was the first half was completely dominated by 49ers. We know that. It was 10-3. I think there was a fumble, kickoff fumble, right? That opened the door a little bit to Kansas City. Kansas City was backs to their wall. It was 10-3 in the third quarter, and San Francisco was going to get the ball. and Kansas City got it. They only got points there, but again, the momentum was shifting. But again, throughout the game, it was going back and forth. And you made an excellent point of not the defense not showing up in the end of regular season, end of regular time, and also the overtime. Two things to me stood out. One, during the regulation, there was a huge 3rd and 7 play with I think less than a minute to go. I'm sure that um, if they didn't make it, they would have kicked a field goal, and that would have given San Francisco some time. They had enough timeouts to go down and score a winning field goal.
Mm.
And then that was a 20-yard pass to Kelsey, and Mahomes was able to get closer to the goal line, and they get the field goal, and they tie in and go there. In the overtime, a couple of decisions which I thought were very critical. One was they did get the ball, and they went down. There was a critical 4th down play towards the goal line. Now, in the overtime, the rules are changed right now with both teams getting a chance. Not to say that, if you give the ball to Mahomes at this 2-yard line or a 3-yard line, he's still going to, drive the, ball down the field for a game-winning field goal. But there were a couple of, I would say, calls in the 2nd down and 3rd down calls that 49ers could have executed better. In fact, there was one miscommunication that happened on the 3rd down that Brock Purdy had. If he had hit it, he had a touchdown right there. But having said that, I think Brock played okay. He played well enough for San Francisco to win. McCaffrey, there was a good touchdown. And then, but Kittle was kind of shut down. Debo was okay. But to me, the offensive line of San Francisco could have done a better job of protecting Purdy. Because the Kansas City defense was pretty ferocious, I think, and they made some critical stops when you thought the 49ers had the momentum going in their favor. Even in the first drive, right? Even the first drive, McCaffrey fumbles. That was a huge play in the game, and then the fumble as well, the kickoff fumble as well. To me, Mahomes kind of figured it out, and I think this is where greatness you go from great to the top echelon of quarterbacks, like the Bradys, the Montanas, the Elways. He knew what he had in his possession. He knew what the matchups were. He knew where the mismatches were, and then he knew how to dissect the defense. And Mahomes still threw for 300 yards. I think he had one bad pick, which 49ers did not do anything with. I mean, they had that's another area too. So there are a lot of, I would say, missed opportunities for 49ers. They get a pick. They're on the 40, 50-yard line almost, and they didn't come up with any points. They fumbled in the red zone. Of course, granted, Kansas City fumbled in the red zone. Pacheco did the same thing too. A lot of calls here. I would call even at the end when Mahomes was driving for a game tying or a game winning touchdown. Of course, they did score a touchdown on the winning drive. There was 6 to 7 seconds left in the clock. Mahomes saw the matchup, and it was a very similar play that they had against the Eagles last year. And Mecole Hardman got the touchdown. But I always wondered, watching the TV at the time, I'm sure that Shanahan is a better coach than all of us here, but why did they not call a timeout? I mean, they could have set the defense and given some more time for the defense to think about, or for Mahomes and Kansas City to think about. Andy Reid, give all credit to him, called a fantastic game. He's now 3-1. He's actually inching to the top of the top for all the coaches as well. To me, those were some of the I would say, very minute instances in the game that have swung in 49ers' favor. And you were absolutely right. I mean, your prediction, everything that you had, you thought of, everything should have happened. Of course, McCaffrey fumble, that was a touchdown or 3 points. And a lot of these little things. I mean, this was a game of inches, as they say, and this was truly a game of inches.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you said little things. I'm just thinking back to the fourth quarter, and Andy Reid really made some adjustments. He adapted very quickly. He opened up the plays that Mahomes could run the ball with, which wasn't there at all in the first half or even the third quarter. Just tiny tweaks here and there, getting opened up. You could see there was that one play where I think Mahomes ran for some 20 something yards, and he kind of faked a pass to the run, and you could see the entire pack of the line moving to the left, creating a wide open field. I mean, those were all, and that wasn't happening at all throughout the game. So little things here and there, Andy Reid was picking and adjusting. I'm not sure 49ers actually changed anything in their game. If you look at the
Mm.
four quarters, they had a plan and they just went about trying to execute that plan. And when it didn't work, they just kept trying again. I felt like Kansas City really adapted. And at the end of the day, I think that was the difference.
You made a very good point. There was you talked about the 20-yard rush that Mahomes had. Remember, in the fourth quarter, there was a 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And if
34-yard
49ers
line.
stop, if 49ers stop them, it is over.
Yep.
What does he do? I was actually thinking it was going to be a Pacheco run, and maybe 49ers may come up with a stop. Mahomes just took off, got like 3-4 yards, got the first down, kept the chains moving, then had that big run that you just mentioned. So to me, I think it was. I would call it like we've been watching Super Bowls for a long time, and I would say this was indeed a game of adjustments. The game of it's almost like a chess move back and forth, and the team that executed one play, I would say better than the other team, eventually won. And then, like we said, all credit to Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid. I'm you know, I mean, you have to call this. I mean, I'm going to call it. I think it's a dynasty. I know you and I chatted about this. So, your thoughts on where you think Kansas City now ranks among all the great teams like the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Patriots?
Yeah, I would definitely. I think I got a renewed and increased appreciation for Chiefs and how they approach the game with like surgical approach to just execution. They definitely deserve a spot in that club. I don't know. Things like dynasty are, like I shared earlier, you
Mhm.
don't talk about it until after these things play out over time. You look back. I definitely think they are among the best that we've seen. So I'll
Right.
leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it's a very tricky thing, right? I mean, I think winning three is a huge thing, but NFL, Mahomes is 28, a lot more years to go, a lot of comparisons between him and Brady. In fact, Mahomes even alluded to that, saying he's always going to be compared against Brady, but he said Brady did beat him twice, so he did. He kind of acknowledges it. But
Mm.
I will have to give that. I mean, I never thought I would see a back-to-back championship in a while. And I think, this was, incidentally, it was 20 years after the Patriots went back to back. No team has ever done back to back except the Chiefs. I mean, that includes the Patriots that was actually dominating, the last 20 years, when Brady was with the Patriots. So that tells you something that how Kansas City is now ranked among the top teams. And again, I get where you're going with, let's see, after we go through like another 5, 6, 7 years, does Mahomes win 6 or 7? How many playoff wins does he have? Right now, he's got 15, which is actually, or 15 or 16. I think it's actually more than Manning, which incredible to say. And
Yeah.
Manning is considered one of the greatest to play this game. So again, I mean, he's still about, I would say 16 or 9. No, Brady's got 35 and Mahomes has got 16. So that's still like about 6 to 7 seasons that Mahomes has to keep winning, and who knows how many Super Bowls he can win during that time. So
That's true.
again, long way to go, but I think kudos to the Chiefs. But at the same time, I do want, like you called out very well, to say ifs and buts. what San Francisco did some adjustments here and there. What if they did have those turnovers? But again, credit to Kansas City's defense. Also, Chris Jones was a monster at the
Yeah.
line. I mean, he disrupted so many passes that you thought. I mean, even in the overtime, there was one pass that if he didn't affect that, that was a touchdown, and then San Francisco had a touchdown there. And
Yeah.
then, obviously that would have changed some of the plays, but again, give Mahomes and Kansas City the credit. So it's like I said, I know when we wrapped up the podcast, I thought it was important to wrap up probably one of the, great Super Bowls that we ever witnessed. I wouldn't call it the greatest, but I think one of the great Super Bowls. It does rank among the top, games in the modern Super Bowl era. So thanks again for Satish. We worked it out. The timings didn't really, suit us today, but I think we just managed to complete that. So thank you
It
so much.
worked out, and it was good. It was good to kind of do the wrap after the game, Sridhar. Great game, and some very very really, like I would say, enjoyable moments throughout the game. It was really a very dynamic game, so fun to watch and fun to share.
All right, and then with that, we wrap it up, and then we have other sports we'll cover later. To me, I know that the golf is coming, Masters is coming, then the basketball is coming, but there's a lot more
And
to
the
come.
F1 season begins in March in Bahrain.
Yes. All right, so we'll do like another preview of that as well. So there you go. So thank you again. Have a good rest of the day, and thanks to all our listeners for keeping us engaged, keeping us on our toes in our predictions, and have a good day.
Thanks, Sridhar.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.